Hello, welcome back to our channel. This is Facts About Africa, the African channel where we share thoughts and changing the narrative of Mother Africa. So in this video, I want to discuss with you, fellow Africans, 5 reasons Julius Malema mentioned as the obstacles for United States of Africa. Listen to the video. South African far-left leader Julius Malema admonished the African to find indigenous ways to address their challenges and unite under a single state. He proposed the elimination of borders created by the colonialists and the promotion of tolerance among Africans. To some extent, Malema is right. Borders are aligned to Africa, and African people need to love one another. So these are the 5 reasons Julius Malema and other advocates of Africa, of a United States of Africa, should have a rethink. First one is Africa are historical autonomous. One of the incoherent assumptions of this school of thought is that colonialism brought different tribes together without considering their distinct cultures. This is suggested should be repressed by uniting all ethnic groups on the continent, over 3,000 of them, and a big entity. Perhaps they are deliberately neglecting the fact that contemporary African countries are struggling because of the bad arrangement of colonialists. Another among mention of a sort, especially a large one, will only create further problems. Moreover, Africans have always been autonomous. Before the scramble and partition of Africa in Berlin, every African tribe lived within their own space with peculiar value and customs. Trade was one of the few things that brought them together, while they always respected each other's identity. In fact, traditional African often broke away from their original tribes to form new communities for self-realization and freedom. The thought that this way of life can be changed by imposing a single identity is simply absurd and un-African. Number 2 is language barrier. Malema proposed Swahili as the ideal language for a united Africa, considering it is the most widely spoken indigenous language. But Swahili only has 140 million speakers, which is less than 15% of the 2 billion population of the continent. Adoption of such a language, if at all accepted by speakers of the other 2,000 African languages, would require an extraordinary amount of effort, especially funding. For example, China and India are often referenced as good breakers for African in the regard. Both countries owe their success to share essential languages among their people. Thus, imposing an alien language on a group in an attempt to erase their identity. 3 is what an ideal administrative system. Most advocates of United States of Africa often propose unitary system with one parliament and president. Others believe either federalism would work better to preserve the autonomy of the numerous ethnic groups. Either way, the geopolitical structure of the continent would not allow for such an unification. African society is too complex to work unitary system. There are preferred modes of administration particular to each tribe and country. It makes no sense to suggest they are all adopt unilateral administrative patterns different from what they have known for thousands of years. A unitary system is only ideal for a small geographical area with common values. Africa covers a staggering 11.5 million square miles, almost 3 times the size of Europe, and is deeply polarized equally, neither federalism nor confederalism. Both systems have horribly failed in many African countries and blocs. Nigeria and the African Union (AU) are good examples. Nigeria is instead have over 250 ethnic groups, just like there will be in the United States of Africa. However, since the country adopted federalism in 1963, it has struggled with a structural problem ranging from resources control to ethnic marginalization, and define the extent to which federalization unite should be autonomous. Also, in the AU had achieved its goal of uniting Africa under a confederacy, there would be no cause for another form of union. The bottom line here is people do better what they are not forced into a coalition. 4 is different economic values. Different tribes have a specific attitude toward the economic. Constricting everyone into a single mode of economic reasoning would be inhuman as much as it would be chaotic. It is antithetical to how Africans have lived for a century. No traditional African society was the same in its approach to commerce and trade as the other, and those values stand until today. This peculiarity is one reason century planned economic reform in many African countries often failed to yield expected result among different tribes. 5 is a pathway to tyranny. Perhaps Malema and his comrades have yet to realize that the more powerful a central government is, the greater the possibility of tyranny. This is evident in the level at which post-independence African leaders have grossly abused power. One leader in a control of a big entity with enormous resources, judging by the political historic of modern Africa, would be extremely dangerous. More so, rotating the office of the head of the state among each tribe without problem is most impossible, as we have seen in the old Sudan, Rwanda, and the Central African Republic and Nigeria. The ECO cannot be a parliament comprehensive to accommodate every tribe that makes up the continent. The end result would be an insufficient representation of interest, which often result in call for secession. Nonetheless, the effort of colonialism on Africa, political, historical, is proof that bringing people together without considering their traditional ways of life is wrong. What Africa needs to work is for countries to allow more autonomy for local government, state, countries, provinces, and prioritize multinational cooperation on the region level through ECOWAS, SADC, EAC, etc., not through another catastrophic political unification.